Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Giving Tuesday. We are joined today with two very special Boys Town alumni who are going to be talking about just how important the Boys Town mission is to them and why you should support it today on Giving Tuesday. So, my name is Gabby, joined here today. I'll have our guests go ahead and introduce themselves. Before we do that, I want to remind everyone to like this video, and if you have a question for our guests, you can always leave it in the comment section. And if you feel so inclined to donate, since it is Giving Tuesday, we do have our donate form linked right above this video.
Sure.
Awesome. Elvin, I'll have you start right in the middle. How are you doing today?
I am. I would say I'm great, but I'm actually fighting some kind of bug, and so I'm glad that I'm able to
Yes.
do this from home.
Yes, so glad. I know it's definitely going around those, fall, winter illnesses. So we're really glad to have you on. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your connection to Boys Town, and what you're up to today.
Yeah, Elvin Torres, class of 1997. I was in Boys Town as a Boys Town from 95 through 97, and the summer after I graduated. And my family teachers were Bobby and Rhonda Betzel. And 20 some years later, they're still very dear friends of ours. They're family to me. And and so that's how I'm connected to Boys Town. And some of my closest friends, my brother went to Boys Town. One of my best friends went to Boys Town, and so we have like this text thread that we text probably 50 times a day with each other, and all of us have Boys Town connects.
Yeah. And you're a dad too, right?
I am. I'm a father of four, and so my two oldest are out of the house already. I have my oldest. She's about to graduate from Lincoln. She's a nursing student, and then my son's in Kearney. He's a junior in college, and then I have a senior in high school and an eighth grader, and they're actually both homesick today as well.
Oh
So
my goodness. We're sending prayers to your household today, certainly.
yeah, and my wife is a school teacher with OPS, and I'm a pastor, and in Omaha, One Hope Church in Omaha. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And then to the right here, we have Haley home. Haley, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderfully. How are you?
Good. It's so great to have you on. Haley is really busy right now with finals are going almost here for her. So, Haley, tell us more about yourself and then your connection to Boys Town.
Wonderful. I'm Haley, as you know. I graduated from Boys Town in 2021, and I was in the Scar Tweet House, and they're still family teachers. They're still kicking it. They've been there for about 24 years now, I think it is. They're absolutely amazing. I always joke around and say that I had the best family teachers at Boys Town, so I will continue to praise them for that. Right now, I'm in my sophomore year at Creighton University. I am heading right into finals next week, so we're very excited for those. Very busy time, and at the moment, I am also interning at Boys Town in the marketing and public relations department over in development, and it's been an amazing experience. It's really helped me a lot. It's been nice, and a lot of girls two girls that I used to live with also work there with me as well. So it's wonderful to see them every day, and I love my coworkers, and I get to go to Boys Town. So what better way to spend my time?
Yes. Well, we love having you on our team for sure. Awesome. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, it is Giving Tuesday, which is an international day of giving to support nonprofits like Boys Town. So, we'll get more into Elvin and Haley's stories and just how impactful Boys Town is to them. But right off the bat, I need to ask Elvin if you could answer first. Why do you think it's important for people to give to Boys Town?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important because Boys Town on a macro scale makes an impact not just nationally, but I think globally. But I think on the individual scale, I look at my life, and Boys Town was a life-changing experience for me. I grew up in New York City, rough neighborhood, and the outcomes were not looking good. And I honestly say, had somebody asked me this summer to honestly reflect and where would I be if I didn't go to Boys Town? And I think the honest answer is that I'd either be dead or in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about my experience at Boys Town was life changing for me. It not only gave me some skills and some tools to be able to be successful in life, but also just created a safe space for me to be able to build on those skills and to be able to grow and develop and then just to build some great relationships with people that I love dearly even today. And I'm just one person. My brother has experienced that. Some of my best friends have experienced that. And it's impacted not just me, but I just mentioned my family, my wife and my kids. And I'm just one person. And Boys Town, I think at any given point has over 500 kids there. Is that right? Over 500. And the ripple effects of the impact that Boys Town makes is tremendous. Whether the person who's impacted goes on to do big things or not, the ripple effects are significant.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well said. Haley, why do you think it's important for people to support Boys Town, not only on Giving Tuesday, but in general too?
I feel there are many reasons, and you could go on and on and on and talk about this for hours. But Boys Town is one of those charities and one of those organizations that 100% the mission is about the kids. It's not about making a profit for a business. It's not about growing, expanding for selfish needs. It's all about the kids and what is the best for the kids and how to help them be successful in life and be successful not only in the program, but when they leave, whether they go to college, whether they go to a trades program, or whether they go back to their families. The biggest thing that Boys Town is working for is to help them have those social skills and have those life skills to be successful and have that opportunity for a successful life. Because a lot of people who do go to Boys Town, they come from many different places. They come from many different backgrounds. They come from different religions. It's just a completely diverse community of kids and adults and everyone. And being able to donate and give what you have, even if it's just a little bit, makes an astronomical difference in the lives of the kids and whether or not they need a pair of shoes when they come in. Because I've had a bunch of girls that I've lived with who've come and didn't have anything. They didn't know what they were going to do with their life. And being able to come to Boys Town and not having to worry about that and having that opportunity to walk into a new life and have everything provided for. It's an amazing opportunity and mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
That's good, Kaylee.
Thank you.
So the next one is maybe for people who are watching this live stream who aren't super familiar with what Boys Town does. Could you both say in one sentence what Boys Town does? It's kind of hard, but
it's very hard.
I think Boys Town creates a safe space where kids can discover the best parts of themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boys Town is a home and an opportunity in a community that ignites change and capability in the youth of America and the underserved.
Perfect. You guys nailed that. So, Alvin, I know you kind of answered this a little bit when we first were chatting, but Haley, where do you think you would be if you hadn't come to Boys Town?
Oh my goodness, I would not be in college.
Yeah.
I would not be in college. I would probably, I don't know if I would even be, I would either be pregnant or I would not be alive. I would not have a happy life.
Yeah.
I would not be in contact with my family. Just there were so many different ways I could have gone down a road. And I am so glad that road brought me to Boys Town so that I am able to experience all these things. It's crazy. My friends tell me that I'm so silly sometimes because I'll just be sitting with them in a room and I'll suddenly just be so happy. And they ask me why. I'm like, well, it's just an amazing experience just sitting here with my friends. Like just being able to find happiness in those small little things. Like I'll eat some spaghetti or something and I'll just get super happy because I'm like, this spaghetti is amazing. Like I have this opportunity to eat some spaghetti. And it sounds so dumb, but it's so profound in my life that I can just find those little things that other people don't see because I had that opportunity to go to Boys Town and have that life and have that perspective change.
Yeah, totally. Those little things that, most of us just in our day-to-day will take for granted, but it's clear with both of you just how appreciative you are for the services received. So I love that you said that. So, Alvin, what has Boys Town positively done for you as a person and how has it changed you?
Sure. I think this may be because there's the the behavior change stuff, right? There's the social skills and the mechanics of it that they teach you, social skills, which for me made a significant impact. But then there's also the organic stuff, like Boys Town. It's like sometimes the way I like to think of it is that in some ways it's a private boarding school for kids who could never afford a private boarding school.
Right.
And even though it's much more than that, it's not only that, but that is an aspect of it. And so the diversity of experiences, that you're able to experience some things that you never probably wouldn't have experienced. But that's just my story. I had a roommate who was Korean, and he had very different experiences. I had another roommate. He was from Boulder, Colorado, and his experience was significantly different than mine. I had friends from DC and from California and from Chicago and different parts of the country. And I mean, what 16, 17-year-old has all these friends from all over the country,
Yeah.
right? And it's just an experience that it does something to you. It does something to your worldview. It does something to the way that you think about the world and your place in it. And so I think that happens organically. And then not to mention your relationships with your family teachers. I had some great ones. It sounds like Haley has some great ones.
Oh, yeah.
But going back to some of the more practical things, when you go to Boys Town, I don't know if it's still the same way now, because I'm talking in the 90s. When you first get there, you learn how to follow instructions. You look at the person, say, okay, do the task, check back, right? And then you learn how to accept feedback, how to accept no, how to take ownership and accept consequences. And for me specifically, I always had a fourth target area, an area that they worked with me on, and it was language control. And it was a made up target area. It wasn't an actual social skill.
It's a thing now.
Yeah, they made it up. And it was because I would speak so quickly. Profanity would sometimes just pop out of my mouth without me even thinking about it. I would just say things and didn't realize that it wasn't socially appropriate, for me to talk that way. And I didn't see the problem with it. So being able to enunciate, being able to speak clearly, being able to have reasonable conversation, all of those things. So my entire time at Boys Town, that was always a target area of mine. And now, very literally, I speak for a living.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it really lent itself to your career today.
Oh, absolutely. And so I would say that in a very practical sense, Boys Town contributed to just what I do. So.
Yeah. Haley, what about you? The Haley going into Boys Town versus the Haley who's now studying business at Creighton, that's quite the transition.
So my family teachers tease me all the time about how different I am from when I first came.
Yeah.
First came to Boys Town, I was very know-it-all-y. And I was never disrespectful. I was never rude to my family teachers, but a lot of the time I thought I knew better, and I didn't really care about having to change. I would just fake it to make it. I wouldn't really get with the program, I guess, as one would say. I just went about my life and did the things that I wanted to do. I was having a lot of difficulty at home, have a very, very strained relationship with my mother, and just all that kind of piled up inside of me, and the decisions that I made before coming, and then coming there and finding this stable, loving environment. It was really scary coming in because I would do something wrong. I would go and make a mistake, and I would come back home, and my family teachers would be like, "Hey, oh no, my laptop was trying to shut down." I don't know why it does that.
Okay.
I would come home after making that mistake, or I would do it in the house, and they would be like, "Hey, that was stupid. Here's your consequence. You need to do this. Okay, this is how you can make up for it." And then after that, they'd let it go. They wouldn't hold it against me. They wouldn't make a point to embarrass me about it. They'd let it go, and they still loved me. And that was scary. That was so different from anything that I've ever experienced, that it just kind of set a spark off inside of me, that I was like, oh crap, what is this place? I thought what I was living through was normal. And about a year and a half in, I made some really bad decisions and kind of came to the point where they're like, hey, like you need to do something. Like you need to change. You need to make a difference. And from that moment on, you could see a complete change in my personality, in the way that I was talking to others. I was still kind of bossy. I'm just kind of a bossy person. I tell people that they need to do stuff, but I was a lot more controlled. I was able to have normal conversations and slow my thoughts down and slow my speaking down, and be able to be a representative of Boys Town and be the vice mayor, do peer ministry, be in sports, be a team captain, like all those different things I would have never been able to do if not for my family teachers and for Boys Town telling me that I can, and that, hey, like, this is your chance. You need to make a change. And this is the time to do it now. And being able to accept that and be like, okay, I don't know best sometimes. Maybe sometimes I don't know as much as other people. And that was really hard to admit. Yeah.
Awesome.
Haley, I was going to say, you talked about just the feeling being at Boys Town. There was it can be unsettling. Going from a place of like chaos and yes, where things aren't necessarily safe all the time. And then you go to Boys Town and it's like it's night and day. And I know for me, my first few weeks at Boys Town, I had a hard time sleeping. I had a hard time. And some of that was I grew up in New York City, literally across the street from the FDR Drive, just the traffic noise and, and that was my normal sound machine.
Yeah.
But some of it was also that Boys Town's safe. It's safe. And it's, there's always anomalies that happen anywhere, but by and large, Boys Town is a safe place, and it can be unsettling when you're not used to it. It takes a little bit for you to put your guard down and for you to it does something to your soul. It does.
Yeah. And the moment that you do let down that guard and then you do allow them to see like what's really going on, that's when the real change happens. And that's when you start seeing the progress in your life. And that's when you start understanding that, hey, this is worth it. This might be hard, but this is worth it. And you start to push forward and you start to progress. And of course, there's always going to be bumps in the road. You're not 100% perfect all the time. I am nowhere near perfect as a person. Right. And I never will be. And I'm okay with that. But it's just the spark of change and being in an environment where you feel safe to do so. And for a lot of kids, it takes a while. It can take up to a year. Sometimes it can take like a week. Sometimes it can take up to a year, 2 years for kids to start feeling comfortable enough. Like, wow, I'm safe. I can do this. And being able to open up to my family teachers, I trust them completely with my whole heart today. I call them all the time and I'm like, I need advice for this. But while I was at Boys Town, being able to sit down and tell them things that I had never told someone before and be like, hey, like, this happened, I don't understand, or something like that. Or being able to call now and talk to them and be like, hey, I realized that this happened. What does this mean? Or I've been going through a lot of just like different therapy, like PTSD therapy, and it's helping me like remember things from my past, because a lot of times when you have like traumatic experiences, you have a brain block. And so the first time that I went to a different type of PTSD therapy, I called my family teacher, Jody, in absolute tears. The amount of times that she's had me call her in tears is kind of funny. She has lots of funny stories about that. But I called her and I was like, hey, I need to share this experience that I just had. I don't understand how to process it. I need your help. And she sat with me on the phone for like 30 minutes and just helped me calm down and just process everything. And it was the most amazing. I just felt safe. I felt warm. And even though she wasn't there with me, it was the act of being able to call her and have her listen to me and put down whatever she was doing and just be that loving, caring individual that she is and help me understand what was happening so that I didn't go throughout my day just panicking and going crazy.
Right. And that's definitely something worth noting. Your family teachers, it's like it doesn't just end after you graduate Boys Town. Nothing, just as Elvin said at the beginning, he's still in a group chat that texts every day with other Boys Town friends, and Haley calls her family teachers. So, I really want to echo that, when you give to Boys Town, it is totally this ripple effect, and the support goes on years and years after the graduates leave Boys Town. So
I still go back on Fridays and get some leftovers from Kyle and Jody. I'll go in and be like, hey, can I go grocery shopping?
yeah, smart.
The leftovers on Saturdays because it's just a call. So one of my other sisters who used to live at Boys Town, she's not like blood sister, but she's a Boys Town sister, so she is my sister. We go in, we walk in, we're like, hey, how's everyone? Can we steal the leftovers?
It's your home. It's always your home.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. We went there for Thanksgiving. I go there for everything.
Some of our Thanksgiving traditions that my brother and I have with our respective families were born at Boys Town.
Absolutely.
That, we used to go around the table. What are you thankful for? That kind of stuff. And a lot of that stuff was born at Boys Town. But I was going to say about just relationships. I just officiated a funeral maybe a couple months ago. And it was for a Boys Town sister. And she just reached out to me on social media. She was in town. She lives out west, and her grandmother passed away, and she was in town. And she said, "Well, I know that Elvin, from high school is a pastor, and he was at Boys Town. So, and that was that's pretty much our only connection was Boys Town.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some mutual friends, but really it was Boys Town, and we happened to be at Boys Town around the same time. We were friends, but not friends, if that makes sense. Yet she knew that she could reach out and connect and that. And Haley, my first few years after leaving Boys Town, going to college, getting married, all that stuff, I was constantly on the phone with my FTs because they were the template for me. For me, they were the template, like, how do you do this? How do you, and so
it's a crazy transition when you leave Boys Town and you go back into, because I came to Boys Town when I was the week before my birthday. I came when I was 14, and I had just I turned 15 while I was there within 1 week of coming. And I left when I was I was about to turn 19. I was 18. So coming there so young and being there for so long, it was just, that's my lifestyle. That's how I understand how things work. And so leaving and moving out of the state, going back to Utah to live with my grandma, it was insane. It was so different. It was such a culture shock because I just didn't understand. I just had to keep asking questions, and she had to keep reminding me, like, hey, it's okay. You got this. This is normal. You can ask questions. It's all right. And it was just so different. And I wanted to keep calling Kyle and Jody, but I was like, no, I gotta put some distance because I'm not at Boys Town anymore. And now I need to call them. I'm going to call them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's great, Haley.
I'm going to go grab a charger for my laptop so it doesn't shut down on me.
Oh, you're totally fine. Okay. So my next question, we were going to talk about family teachers. That's just been an ongoing conversation throughout this live, which I absolutely love. But talk to me more, Elvin, about the template. How did the relationship with your family teachers not only change your experience at Boys Town, but really set you up for when you were getting married and having kids of your own?
Well, I mean, my mom, when I was born in Puerto Rico, and then we moved to New York City when I was 1 year old. And my mom was 20 years old when she had me, 18 when she had my sister. And so she moves to New York with 2.5 kids. She was, she had her third in New York, 2.5 kids, single mom, 20 years old, and 21 years old, and barely speaks English. And I had uncles and a lot of family, but there was a lot of things going on. It was the 80s and 90s, drugs and jail. My mom worked hard, and she did the best that she knew how, but there was a lot of things I just never learned growing up. And she did the best she could, but sometimes the best you could just doesn't meet it. That doesn't get it done. And so Bobby and Rhonda, I'm thinking about Rhonda when I met my wife, Rebecca. She, I want to know what Rhonda thinks about her.
Yeah.
And what would Rhonda say? And I remember when I first got married, and I was so frustrated. My wife and I were having just a rough time. and I asked, how many times do I have to be the first one to say I'm sorry? And his
Mm-hmm.
reply to me was every single time.
Yeah.
That was his reply, and he was like, just own it, just own your part, do what you can, take responsibility for yourself, and just step in there and be the first to race to forgiveness. It's a
Yeah.
don't compete with one another, but cooperate with one another. Race toward grace, race toward forgiveness, be each other's champion. Those kinds of things. And for me, I saw them do that. I saw Bobby and Rhonda argue in front of me, and then Bobby asked for forgiveness. I remember Bobby was the first adult person to ever come to me, apologize for something, and ask me to forgive them
Mm-hmm.
because they have wronged me. I had never experienced that before then. And I was, I think, 17 or 18, 17 when that happened. I'd never experienced that. And so he set a model, a template for this is how you pursue your this is how you pursue your marriage, this is how you pursue your kids, this is how he was always crazy fun. He probably did things he probably shouldn't have, like in the Boys Town band, like he always made things fun. And so, I want my kids to have experiences, not just, it's not my job just to provide for them.
Right.
It's my job to help them become the best persons they can be. And really, I think my mom, even though she did the best she could, best she knew how, I think she was so busy just trying to, just trying to survive
Yeah.
and trying to keep us alive. And the emotional care and the skills and the, hey, what are you going to do next? All of those things, that those conversations just never happened.
Right.
And so just setting not just talking the good game, but they modeled it, in the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it wasn't always pretty, so those things. And then also, I don't know how many times Bobby and Rhonda have called me on the carpet, have called me out for stuff when I'm even as an adult, you
Yeah.
know, um, they would say, hey, let me tell you what I'm hearing, and this is the way you sound, and just, what I mean, and lovingly, graciously, as friends, not as like, hey, I'm your family teacher, but it was always like, hey, you're a human person,
Yeah.
and I want good for you, I love you, I want good for you, and so let's take these steps. And it wasn't always like that. It was, they were it wasn't always like I was the things.
The relationship grows. Yeah.
Yeah, and generally speaking, it was it's always, it's not like it was rough patch after rough patch. It was, generally
Right.
speaking, it was great.
Oh,
We
yes.
had a great relationship, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
I have one more question for you guys before we wrap up. Thank you for all the testimonials you've shared. They've been so wonderful. We've gotten some really nice comments thanking you both for sharing your stories. But if you could say one thing to Boys Town donors today on Giving Tuesday, what would it be?
I would say, give. I think, do it on purpose. Make a decision to give, and to know that when you're giving, you're not just giving to some organization generically, but that you're giving to an actual life, and that life, the impact that you make on that life, will have a ripple effect that will last decades and maybe a generation. And I know for me, it's transformed my legacy. So.
Absolutely. I would have to say, no matter what amount you give, no matter what it is that you give, whatever it is will make a difference in a child's life. And we are all, whether you work at Boys Town, whether you went to Boys Town, or you are at Boys Town, everyone is extremely grateful for you even looking at this program and considering our program as a donation. It's life changing. There's no other program out there like this. Trust me, my family and I have looked and tried to see if there's anything like this to help spread the word. And it's an amazing organization. It's full with love. There's nothing like it. And we greatly appreciate you no matter how big or small you donate. it's worth it, and it does make a difference.
Yes, well said. So if you do consider donating today on Giving Tuesday, if you're watching and you are an annual donor, whether you give $1 or $50 or just your kind words and prayers towards us, it is greatly appreciated, as they both said. So I want to thank you both for joining us today for our live. I know you're both very busy, so we really appreciate you hopping on. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.